Make 15% more concrete from every bag. The Gardener is brought to you by PPC.
Today I'll reveal to you one of the best kept secrets in gardening. It's all about mulch. What is mulch? Well, it's a way to trap the moisture into the soil, stop the weeding, and most importantly, eventually improve the soil that you have. It's all about mulch. It's all about adding that awesome organic layer of covering on top of your soil, and that will make you a way better gardener. Hi, I'm Tanya Visser, editor of The Gardener magazine, and welcome to a brand new episode of The Gardener. Coming up in today's episode, we show you various uses of mulch. What options are out there? What can you get? We'll then take you through plants that are going to be used, which are doing exactly the same thing as a mulch, except that they're plants. Then we give a small neglected rose garden with dry exposed soil and an old red brick wall a new lease on life by adding decorative planting frames and finishing off the garden with ground covers that are great companions for roses. One of the biggest mistakes in gardening is to leave open soil. And you might be thinking, you're just saying that because you want me to buy more plants. Well, not so. I want you to cover the soil to make your garden better, to improve your soil. It's really important to be able to lock the nutrients into our soil. And that can be done by various gardening practices. And certainly the best one is by mulching. And you know, your nutrients plus your soil can get lost in many different ways. From wind, from when we have heavy rains, and literally the soil just disappears. And all of us might have experienced this at some or other time in our gardens. So the best way to kind of prevent that happening is by using mulch. Now, mulch can be in different forms. It could be some gorgeous compost just like this. I mean, take a look at that. That is just fabulous. By having a layer like this all around your plants is going to prevent weeds from coming up. It's going to improve the nutrition of your soil, because as this starts breaking down and works its way into the soil, so you're adding more organic matter. And organic matter is really important. The other thing that you can use, of course, is things like peanut shells or peach pips, even gravel to use as a mulch. Because when we have those heavy downpours, well, you're not going to watch all your soil disappear into your neighbor's garden. And of course, the best mulch that you could ever use in your garden is by planting ground covers. Yep, you heard right. By making sure that you have no bare patches of soil, that you plant your ground covers, because they do exactly the same job as an inorganic mulch. Maybe first of all we should start by describing what is a ground cover. Well, a ground cover is a low-growing plant, generally not getting more than 20 centimeters in height, which has a spreading nature. Some of them will be clump forming, but most ground covers that we find today will have a spreading nature. Now, why are they important? Well, they finish off garden beds really well. Imagine if you've got the lawn, you've got ground covers then leading into your mid-shrubs and into your taller shrubs. It allows that bit of breathing space when we start going into the depth of garden beds. Also, they form a really important part of your landscaped garden or your hard landscaping. Think about if you had a pathway and you had a checkerboard effect. Instead of having pebbles in between it, you could have an actual ground cover, a living mulch. Options would be dwarf mondo grass, a lovely ground cover thyme, creeping oreganum, the list just goes on. Those are options of true ground covers. Not only do they look good, but it's also really important for the soil. When you have ground covers, you're stopping that baking sun beating down onto the soil and depleting it of all its nutrition and moisture. And by having your ground covers on top of it, not only protects the soil, but the roots of the plants maybe just behind it that would have found its way under the soil. Keeps the soil surface nice and cool, traps in the moisture, and that's what we want to be a successful gardener. So when you're having to make this decision of what ground covers to use, how do you go about it? Well, number one, you're going to jet off to your local garden centre, and there you're going to find various options. One, you can buy the plant in already growing kind of instant form in a bag. Now, that's the way to go if you're wanting an instant look. If, however, you're on a bit of a budget, then go to the area in the garden centres that has kind of the seedling trays or the racks, because there you're going to find some real bargains. In there, you'll find them growing in packs of 4, almost like a seedling tray, but 4 individual little plants, which is perfect if you're planting between pavers, even if you're doing a large area, or even if you're planting in that dreadful stuff called Loffelstein walls. Because then it's no use buying a plant with a bag this big and trying to fit it into a hole that big. In that case, it's much better to buy them in the trays. If you've got very large areas to do, then chat to your local garden centre, because you can even buy them in larger trays. 200 little plants in one tray, or sometimes even 98. Remember, the most important thing always, folks, if you're not too sure what to choose and all the plants are just moulding into one and making big question marks above your head, then please ask. Ask at your local garden centre, or drop us an email at info@thehomechannel.co.za and we'll get right back to you with an answer. Coming up next, we make the garden frames which we can attach to that drab red wall.